Just we finished celebrating Valentine's Day. Just to mention, in Latin America, people says the day of love and friendship. And in other parts, they say the day of kindness and tender. And today, love is a simple word with 4 letters, also in English as it is in Spanish, amor. 4 letters, it's so simple. But it's so powerful, the meaning that love has, that sometimes we do not pay attention too much about that there are 4 types of loves. And the title of the message today that I chose was Loving Our Enemies. Is Philia love enough? In the complexities of human relationship, the idea of loving our enemies presents a profound, deep challenge. The Greek language offers a rich distinction between different types of love, each shedding light on various aspects of this struggle. One such type is philia, often described as the love between friends, characterized by mutual respect, loyalty, and shared values. While philia encourages connection through common ground, Jesus challenged us to extend love beyond natural boundaries, urging us to love not just those who love us, but also those who oppose us. In Luke 6, Jesus teaches us to love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you. The radical command goes beyond the emotional bound of philia and invite us to understand love as an active, sacrificial choice. Loving our enemies doesn't require us to feel affectionate toward them as we might with friends. But it does call us to act with kindness, respect, and goodwill. As Jesus emphasized, love is not merely a feeling, but an intentional action, as seen in his call to do good to them and lend to them without expecting to get anything back. And sometimes when we have friendships, the first thing that connects us is if my friend do favors to me, immediately I feel compromised to give the same treatment to the friend. And in that work of friendship, our bonds stick together. John Wesley, the founder of the Methodist movement, echoes this biblical call in his teachings on love. For Wesley, loving our enemies was not just a matter of forgiveness, but a radical and essential aspect of Christian life. Wesley emphasized that loving our enemies reflects God's unconditional love, selfless, sacrificial, and transformative. He believed that Christians must demonstrate love not only toward those who love us, but also toward those who oppose us, because this is how Christ has loved us. Christ's love is not based on merit, but is freely giving, even to those who reject or mistreat him. Wesley taught that true Christian holiness is reflected in this kind of love, which seeks the well-being of all people, even those who have wronged us. Wesley believed that loving our enemies required a heart transformed by God's grace, a heart that could overcome hatred, anger, and bitterness. Loving our enemies was a choice, not just as an emotional response. And in it was the active love that marked a true discipleship of Christ. Not just as an emotional response. And it was this active love that marked a true discipleship of Christ. He often points to Jesus' example on the cross. Jesus' example of the cross. We are just close to the doors of Lent. And I come from a Catholic background. And when I became a Methodist, they were in Hispanic. The Hispanics are very evangelical. Everything that smells Catholic, they don't like. And I just go to the church with my cross and a crucifix with the body of Christ hanging in there. And believe me, the comments of the people were not very, very welcoming. They were hostile. They said you have to have the cross only because Jesus is alive. And in a humble way, I told them, you know what? If you forget the human Christ hanging in the cross, that means that you don't live the pain that he went through in order to save us. And as Abuelis mentioned, just picture that image of cross hanging in life with blood coming out from their hands, the blood coming with the sweat from his forehead of the crown. That was something horrible. And humanity, we still don't learn. We continue to do the same to others. And in the cross where he prayed for those who were crucifying him as the ultimate model for how we should love even the most difficult people in our lives. In Proverbs 25, verses 22 to 22, we read a wisdom saying that sheds the light of the power of kindness toward our enemies. If your enemy is hungry, give him food to eat. If he's thirsty, give him water to drink. In doing this, you will heap the burning coals of his head, and the Lord will reward you. This passage offers a profound countercultural perspective of loving enemies. It instructs us to meet the needs of those who oppose us, not just to forgive them, but to actively serve them. The phrase, heap burning coals on his head, is understood by many scholars to symbolize a sense of shame or conviction that arises when one experiences unexpected kindness. When we love our enemies, we are not only demonstrating the transformative power of God's love, but also provide opportunity for the enemy heart to be soft, perhaps even leading to reconciliation. Their friendship exemplifies Philia love in its pure form, one of deep loyalty, mutual respect, and sacrificial commitment. David and Jonathan bond went far beyond mere political convenience, and it was true, heartfelt friendship that transcended difficult circumstances. Jonathan's loyalty to David was so strong that he risked his own life to warn David of King Saul's murderous intentions. Their friendship was marked by selflessness and sacrifice, reflecting the ideal of Philia as not just a bond of affection, but also one action of commitment to face of danger. Jonathan's love for David was also displayed when he made a covenant with him, pledging to protect David despite the threats from his own father, King Saul. This act of loyalty, risking his own safety for David, is a powerful example of filial love that goes beyond convenience and shows the depth of mutual care. Similarly, the Old Testament, the history of Ruth and Naomi in the Old Testament provide us another example of filial love that extends beyond the conventional understanding of friendship. After the death of her husband and 2 sons, Naomi urged her daughters-in-law to return to their families. However, Ruth, despite having the option to stay in her homeland and live a more secure life, chose instead to remain by Naomi's side. She made a radical commitment to Naomi, saying, "Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God." Brothers and sisters, Ruth's love for Naomi was not based on any familial obligation, but on a deep loyalty and sacrificial love. Ruth's decision to stay with Naomi despite the uncertain future is an example of filial love that demonstrates selflessness, loyalty, and mutual respect in a relationship that transcends the ordinary. Ruth's actions of filial love mirrors the kind of love Jesus called us to show, even to those who are not our natural family or close friends. In Philia, we see the willingness to serve and care for others, even when it involves personal sacrifice or discomfort. This is the kind of love that Jesus called us to demonstrate, not just to our friends or family, but also to our enemies. Through filial love is often associated with the friendship and affection. Wesley made it clear that this love was not just for close friends, but should extend to all people, even our enemies. Jesus commands to love our enemies, call us to show kindness and an act of goodwill, even when we don't have a deep emotional connection with them. Loving our enemies through philia may not mean developing a deep friendship with them, but it does mean choosing to act in ways that reflect the compassion, respect, and selflessness seen in true friendship. It is a love that seeks the best for others, not because of a deep bond, but because we are choosing to follow the example of Christ. In this way, Wesley's teaching aligned closely with Jesus' words in Luke 6. He emphasized that love was not a passive feeling, but a choice and an active commitment to seek the good of others, even in challenging circumstances. The love that Jesus called us is not a sentimental affection, but a transformative love that acts in concrete ways by showing kindness, forgiving, and seeking peace, even in those who may never love us back. Just as Storgy, the familial love binds family members through deep affection, Jesus' call to love our enemies challenges us to move beyond the comfort of familiar relationships and embrace a love that transcends personal feelings, that doesn't just reflect the bond we share with friends, but also seeks reconciliation and healing in the midst of brokenness and conflict. Brothers and sisters, as we see in Philia, the love between friends, marked by mutual respect, loyalty, and shared affection, presents a powerful example of how we can relate to others with kindness and selflessness. Throughout the Scripture, we find beautiful examples of this kind of love, such as the profound bond between David and Jonathan, the unwavering loyalty of Ruth to Naomi, and the wisdom in Proverbs, which encourage us to show kindness even to our enemies. Jesus' command to love your enemies in Luke 6 challenge us to take this kind of love and a step further. Loving our enemies doesn't always come naturally, nor does it require us to feel deep affection for those who oppose us. Rather, He's called us to choose action over emotion, to act with goodwill, kindness, and respect, even in the face of hatred or mistreatment. This is not just about friendship, as we know it, but about a love that transcends personal connection and seeks the well-being of others, even those who have wronged us. But is Philia love enough? On one hand, Philia gives us a valuable framework. It teaches us about loyalty, care, and respect, and it models how to serve and support others. David and Jonathan exemplify how profound affection and loyalty can be bridged divides. Similarly, Ruth's commitment to Naomi teaches us about sacrificial love that goes beyond familial ties. However, as Jesus showed us His command and His sample on the cross, the love we are called to extend to our enemies is not just about friendship. It goes deeper. Philia, while crucial, it is only a part of the picture. In fact, Philia alone may not be enough to love our enemies as Christ loved us. Jesus called us to deeper, more radical form of love, where our actions reflect God's selfless love, unconditional, sacrificial, and often countercultural. Philia might teach us to be loyal, but selfless love teaches us to love beyond loyalty, even when there is no expectation of return, even when there's no natural affection to draw us in. So, is Philia love enough? In the sense that it forms the foundation of love and relationship? Yes. But to fully love our enemies, we must also embody unconditional love, a love that is selfless, sacrificial, and radically inclusive, just as Christ did for us. Philia can help us to reach out, but selfless love will help us love without limits. As we strive to love our enemies, we embrace both forms of love, knowing that it is only through the strength of God's grace that we can truly love as He loved us. In the end, we are not only called to love those who love us back, but to reflect the love of Christ to all people, whether friends or foe. And in doing so, we participate in God's greater plan of reconciliation and healing, building bridges where there once were walls, and creating a community where love transcends all boundaries.